Now, on to tonight's event. Now, I've known Gerry, for 20 plus years. Gerry's been, and I can really say this with passion, Gerry's been with railway longer than I have, which is not bad for you. Started as a sponsor student, I believe. Spent time at Haymarket, where all of the great engineers have always spent time at Haymarket. Some have actually run Haymarket, as in Dave Sherry's. Done a various, actually sponsor student at various roles within the railway. Gerry had the misfortune of working for myself for 2 years. And we worked long at Springburn Airport, maybe 2 or 3 years, and it was great working with him. At the time, Gerry had a full head of hair, and I mean full, right down to his knees almost. The next time I saw him, he had it shaved off, and he's been like it ever since. Gerry, from my point of view, has been a personal great friend. I've always enjoyed what he does. Well, since leaving me, he's gone into great things. He formed his own company. Or just a little side, he also was a gas Corby registered engineer at one stage, and a lecturer at a university. So he's always been great at challenging, being an innovative and trying new things. And that's very much how he's got his business. So Gerry is managing director and joint owner. And when I say joint owner, the other owner of Brodie Engineering is his wife. So I'm not going to say who owns that company, but he's went and great thing. He's formed a fantastic business down in Kilmarnock. He's now expanded and brought the previous website site. So it's a real great privilege to have Gerry along. He's been very kind to sponsor our previous events and previous programmes. And as part of the committee, Gerry, I'm really looking forward to it. I've admired what you've done in the rail industry. In fact, you brought on people, you employed people, you encouraged people. So I look forward to your presentation tonight. So without further ado, over to you, Gerry. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Welcome to Brodie Engineering. I'd like to start, if I may, with excuses. This is my very first Teams presentation. Zoom, FaceTube, whatever it's called, presentation. I'll confess right away that I had to get IT to help me set this up as soon as I get back from school. And I think it's working. I can see you. I think you guys can see me. It's lots of faces. So I think, yep, we're firing. So let's get on with it. I'm going to look at 3 projects tonight. I'm going to look at the Class 153 scenic train or cycle train. And that's not just a conversion. It's been refurbished, major overhaul, lots of modifications, corrosion repairs. It's a really big project and it's looking really great. It's one to be really proud of. Going to look at the Class 320 time-based overhaul extra T-box, or C6 and old money. I'm not allowed to call it that anymore. And the Class 158 to C4I, I for extra. So I had put together a bit of a PowerPoint presentation, but it wasn't very good. So nothing really beats being here, and we kind of had a bit of a rethink about it, and I thought it would actually be a lot better if I was to take you into the factory and let you see the trains themselves. So that's the kind of plan, and I hope it works. Normally we start with a bit of a health and safety brief, but well, fire arrangements don't really work in Teams. I guess you probably know where the toilets are. I've got my safety shoes on. If you could put your safety glasses on, we'll go through to the factory and I'll show you what we're up to. So the first project I'd like to talk to you about this evening is Scotland's Class 153 cycle train, and this is it. So you'll see right away that the train's been re-liveried, and you get a little sneak preview of the active travel decals that ScotRail's designed, and I think you'll agree that they're really impressive. The finished artwork is really stunning. So this is a really significant project. There's a great deal of working into these vehicles. I'll explain all of that as we go through them. The first of them is a package of mods. The very first mod that I can show you right now, as you can see, we go on the train, is the controlled emission toilet tank, and that's it right in front of you. So the tank sits ahead of the bogie, and as part of that modification, there's a great deal required in moving of pipe work and air reservoirs, etc., valves and systems. Okay, so I said there was a suite of mods to the vehicle, and that's true, there is a suite of mods. In addition to that, there's a package of works where we do corrosion investigation, and the vehicle is also subject to a full C4, which is where we do the works to the vehicle mechanical systems below the underframe of the vehicle. And you can see that unit here, 3 or 5 units in the fleet, is ready for its C4 works. It's lifted. You can see ahead of us that the bogies are removed. And if we walk over to the side, I'll show some of the corrosion works. So the panels here are removed to give access to the sole bar and underframe to identify areas of corrosion. The sole bar is drilled where we can insert corrosion inhibitor to the inside of the sole bar to protect it for water ingress related to corrosion. So in addition to that, we carry out a mod to increase the right height of the vehicle. So that's to try and make the vehicle match closer to class 156 right height. So you'll see here the centre castings from the vehicle are removed. And if we go underneath the vehicle, you can see from the anti-roll bars that there's a packing piece added to the anti-roll bar. In the centre casting, there's a packing piece added also. And just ahead of us, on the drop links for the second rear suspension, they're modified, all of it to allow the height of the vehicle to be increased. I can't show you at the moment, but the steps in the vehicle are modified and trimmed back so that it's clear of the platforms. Now, if we go inside the vehicle, I can show you some of the level of invasiveness in the strip of the vehicle. As you'll see as we go into the vehicle, the interior is completely removed. And if you look to the floor of the vehicle, you'll see Cameron is just finishing off painting the floor, and the corrosion works and the renewal of the floor elements in this vehicle is now complete. Okay, so you can see that the project involves C4 works. It also involves a complete package of C6 works. So the C6 works are where we undertake works above the sole bar, so works to the cab, for example. In addition to the C6 works, we carry out a full suite of PRM works. And you can see here we have the PRM compliant door sounder. And here we have the overhaul of the door equipment. So it's a full door overhaul, which is also part of the C6 works. Moving inside, we have, this is the toilet module. We fitted a Senvac toilet hopper. It's a vacuum operated system, and that connects to the controlled emission tank that we saw underneath. This is a luggage storage area and electrical equipment space. And I know it's probably difficult to see. You might be able to see some of the stainless steel racking. So I've printed it out, and that area is shown here. This part of it is the electrical equipment cupboard for 240 volt seat sockets, and the rest of it luggage space adjacent to the saloon. This is the seated area, and this has been completely refurbished. We'll have new seat moquette, there's new carpet, the interior of the saloon has been painted, of new dado panels, touched on earlier, at seat sockets with twin USB power points. We've fitted a brand new train passenger information system. It's a Train FX system. And now we're coming into what the train's named after. This is the cycle storage area. It's the bulk of the vehicle dedicated to not just storage of cycles, but you can actually store winter sports equipment in here. And there's additional luggage space for those active travel pursuits. So in addition to the things we've mentioned, the train has been fitted out with new LED lighting, and there's also a Wi-Fi system fitted. Let's go through to the cab. Here's the cab. You can see that the cab's been refurbished. You can see it's been repainted, and you can see that the throttle control and the brake controller have been refurbished as part of the C6 works. Over here, we've moved the master control switch from the driver's desk to the left-hand side of the cab, and that's part of a mod package to give the driver a bit more legroom. And I know that you can't quite see it in camera, but on my left hand is the RETB system has been fitted to the vehicle. That's a radio electronic token block system that wasn't previously fitted to a class 153. we'll go through to the next car. So this is unit 4 of the fleet of 5, and this is pretty much the condition that we receive the vehicles in. As you can see, we've started to strip out what will become the cycle area, and as we move forward into the saloon, this is an area that we're currently stripping out. So removal of the seats is a pretty straightforward process. It's something that doesn't generally take us a great deal of time. So I'll now pass over to Peter and let him get back to his work. Peter doesn't like to hang around. He's a splendid chap. So that was a class 153. We'll now go and look at the class 320. Actually, part of the class 320 is overhauling reservoirs. This is the reservoirs being overhauled. You can see we shop blast them, and we do all of this in-house. There are 27 reservoirs in the class 320. So the class 320 is a T-box overhaul. That's a time-based overhaul extra, or I still call it a C6. And it's quite a long list of extras. We'll show you some of them when we go inside the vehicle. The extras are things like overhauling the vacuum circuit breaker, the master brake controller, heating system, those kind of things. We'll see some of them. A significant part of the class 320 C6 works is the relivery of the unit. So the first thing we do in the relivery is remove the decals, as you can see here, and then braid the body side. When we braid the body side, we use a Minden dust extraction system. That's a high-performance filtration system that keeps the dust within the factory to minimum levels. I'm going to walk into the cab now and let you see what we do in there. This is the driver's cab, and you can see straight away that we've removed the major safety critical components. This is the throttle and master controller, and this is the brake controller. Both of these have been overhauled by ourselves in-house, and these are ready for refit. So in addition to these major safety critical components, we renew other safety critical components. This is the main reservoir governor. We also renew the emergency brake governor. Other activities within the cab, which are not as safety critical but still very important, is overhaul of systems like the cab heater. In addition to the cab systems, the vehicle is subjected to corrosion repairs, and that's mainly minor repairs to the body skin and the likes. In order to effect those repairs, we have to electrically disconnect the vehicle, and that involves disconnecting equipment in the cab space, in the roof, and that's systems such as TPWS, Vigilance, GSMR, those types of things. So when we're in the cab, we spoke about electrical disconnection for welding, and we also do that in the saloon of the vehicle. You can see here we've electrically disconnected the passenger information system. Part of the mod packages is LED lighting, which we fit to the saloon of the vehicle. When we receive the vehicle, one of the important things we do is apply asset protection. You can see Derek here applying this protective film, which you use on most of the vertical surfaces within the vehicle. So this is the main saloon, and whilst the overhaul involves handling internal equipment and components, we also handle safety critical systems within the vehicle. This here is an emergency brake release valve. So we remove the valve and we overhaul it internally in-house and then refit it. Just ahead of me is the OTMR, the data recorder, and that's what records the vehicle systems, and that's analysed in the event of an incident. So in order to access systems within the car, we have to remove the seats. So we remove the seats from one side and restore them within the same car on the opposite side and recover them with asset protection. The seats are stored safely behind this film. That gives us access to things like this inverter here, which is what supplies the 240 volt at-seat sockets. Other works within the car are here within the electrical cupboard at the vestibule end. And here you can see that we've changed to the left and the right door relay. They're renewed as part of the reliability improvement package. The other relays and circuit breakers we manage on condition. We'll go through to the next car. This is us in the PMS. That's the power motor second. So this is the part of the train where the 25,000 volts comes into the vehicle and passes down to the traction motors below us. Within this cupboard here, I know it's difficult to see, we overhaul the air system associated with the pantograph that picks up the 25,000 volts. Bottle compressor at the bottom of the cupboard, its sole purpose in life is to raise and lower the pantograph, and that compressor is overhauled as part of our works, as is this little air reservoir associated with it. Other equipment we overhaul is these automatic drop solenoids, both of them, they're actually renewed, and the pantograph solenoid is renewed along with its check valve. If we move along the vehicle, you can see that we pass by the where the 25,000 volt cable comes into the train, and the roof space here where the vacuum circuit breaker is removed from. Above us, I'll let you see in a second, is a 25,000 volt test wire. I can assure you that it's isolated, and that's what we use to test the vehicle for traction when we have completed the overhaul. A Class 320 train has 3 heater types. There's a vestibule panel heater. This one's been removed for overhaul. There are under-seat heaters and there are wall-mounted heaters. Our works involve removing, stripping, examining these heaters. We repair them as required. Other activities are required to take on the train is inspection and testing of the hopper windows to ensure that the hopper windows move freely and they don't rattle or vibrate. Another activity in the vehicle is the inspection of the WSP rack, that's a wheel slip prevention rack delivered between these seat backs. So part of the reliability enhancements is overhauling the heating system. In this vestibule end cupboard, you can see that there are 6 contactors which renew, and these contactors operate the heaters within the saloon. The saloon temperature is controlled by this thermostat. One of the major exercises in a time-based overhaul is overhaul of the door systems. The door systems in any fleet are one of the major features of reliability. So I'm going to take you now and show you how we manage the door system overhaul. Overhauling the doors is easy. So back in the cab, this cab is being built back up again. The master controller, which we said we overhaul in-house, is now fitted. The brake controller, likewise, that's been overhauled and refitted. We spoke about door overhaul being part of the C6, the T-box works. That includes the cab door. The cab door gets new actuators, the rollers are renewed, EP valves are renewed, all of the door seals in the cab are renewed. We have the crew valve, yep, the crew valves, all of the crew valves overhauled in-house, again as part of the works. So this car's getting ready to go into the booth. You can see Gordon here is preparing the window wedges for that re-livery. Showed you just a minute ago the doors being removed. So overhaul of the doors is a big part of the work, as we said. The saloon doors, we overhaul the door header gear, it gets new belts, again new EP valves. The door weather seals are renewed, the brush seals are renewed. This is the emergency egress valve. So again, all of them overhauled in-house and refitted. So I spoke about the disconnection for welding. So this is the welding works here. They're minor corrosion repairs, it's really small scale, very little of it, mainly where the body skin joins the sole bar, and a similar sort of thing in the roof. What's disruptive about it is electrical disconnection. which is a bigger part of the corrosion job. Just as we're passing by, you can see the big grey box behind me there is our 25 kV test supply. That's a power supply for it, and 25 kV allows us to traction test the train within the factory. So that actually allows us to drive and move the train within this facility. Looking up, you can see the catenary for it, the yellow arm. I hope you can see the green light on that shows that the system's isolated. And that yellow arm can actually swing to the side, and it allows us still to lift vehicles in this space. While we're on the roof, you can see the GRP domes. They're part of the C6 works. We take out the old sealant, it's replaced with a Sikaflex type product. Then the GRP, the fiberglass, relayed on top, which is what you can see just now. And then there's a spray sealant on top of that again to manage the water ingress. Moving on to the PMS, this vehicle's just come out of the booth. This is just finished its relivery. You can see it's still masked up, and this has been liveried using the Exalta paint system. On the vehicle, the reservoir in this unit refitted. You saw a bit of an overhaul stage. This will have been tested to 150% of its design pressure and refitted. This is the power electronics control racks. These are removed, sent for overhaul and refitted and tested. And this is again an element of the electrical disconnection works for welding that we're just starting to reinstate. And that's just what we're doing here. So this is the Thyristor control pack. It's getting the electrical disconnection works removed. We handle these packages, these Thyristor packs, new seals. There's new insulation on the braided cables, capacitors are changed, quite a lot of disruptive work in those packs. This is the four-step brake valve, that's removed, sent for overhaul, and that's the device in the train that gives the driver the level of brake control. Moving on, the bogie. Within the bogie, we replace the check valves. There's two check valves under each bogie. They are removed and overhauled as part of our works. So this is us getting to the vehicle complete in its real way. The decals are refitted to this vehicle, the masking removed, and this is it nearing its complete stage. Part of the works, of the extra works that we do is this is the sanding equipment. The sanding valve is renewed, renewed by us in-house. The sanding hoses are renewed, and the securing equipment renewed. One of the extra works we've done in this vehicle is renew the footsteps. So the footstep condition was found to be less than was hoped, and all of the footsteps now are renewed 100%. This here is for the compressor governor. That's a new compressor governor that's fitted, and the auxiliary contactor for the compressor governor, that's overhauled by us also. I think there's 6 of those auxiliary contact type devices in the vehicle. That's the emergency valve fitted. Underneath the vehicle, they replace, this is a one-way check valve for the door system, which is renewed. There are a number of check valves and strainer valves that are overhauled by ourselves, again, in-house in the vehicle. So that's really what a C6, a T-box overhaul involves. I hope it gives you a kind of a flavour for the type of work that we do, and I'll now just let you see the work that Jim is going to do in fitting the decals. So that gives you an insight into a couple of the projects that are live at our facility in Bonnyton Rail Depot. Now, I'm going to let you into probably what's Kilmarnock's worst kept secret. So let's go this way. You may be aware from the media, or if you read Modern Railways, that on the 27th of July this year, we bought the site that was Wabtec Rail Scotland. And that's where we're going to go to now. As we leave Bonnyton Depot, you can see on the right sidings that lead to Caledonian Works. That's the site that we've bought. Now, between Caledonia Works and Bonington Rail Depot is the Kilmarnock to Troon Railway line, which is somewhat inconveniently sited. And that means that the quickest way to get from one side to the other is to fly. And we therefore thought that building a bridge might be a good idea. So we asked engineers to do a little CGI mock-up of that, and this is it. We gave them a bit of a free rein on that, and I agree that they've done a rather fine job of it. I'm not too sure about the dragon. Anyway, the site has a long railway history. It dates back to 1840, when Andrew Barclay founded his engineering business, which later became synonymous with locomotive buildings. Those original offices still exist, although they're now mainly residential. As we look towards Caledonia Works, and indeed on the right-hand side in Morrison's Car Park, that's the site of the Titchfield Foundry, which supplied castings to the rail industry, and briefly munitions of war. That's munitions of the Crimean War, which gives you an interesting angle on the timeline. Oh, and there on the left, you can see that's all 156 that's ours. That will be coming down from Stranraer, I expect. And it's interesting to note that the railway line from Kilmarnock to what's now Brassing Junction was the first railway line to be approved by Act of Parliament back in 1812, and indeed the first passenger line in Scotland, and the first line, in fact, to run the steam engine in Scotland. So I therefore present my case that Kilmarnock is the centre of the historic railways. We can debate that further at questions and answers, if you like. Well, I think we can go into the building now, and we have a wood fisher normally go through the door, but I think we're going to go through the spray booth. Yep, spray booth it is. You can see the wall baskets either side. Interesting to note, just that historical note, that the original offices of Andrew Barclay, they weren't rail connected, and if you read in the literature, they were drawn by a team of horses on stout wagons when they took the locomotives out of the factory. It must have been quite an interesting sight. Anyway, this is us inside the factory. On the left is the 158 C4I, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think we've got time, and we can maybe just go for a tour around the factory, and I can give you an idea of some of the projects that are pending, and maybe show you some of the facilities as well. On the right, you can see there's stands laid out to accept Class 170 incident damage, which will be arriving in a few days' time. The factory is 150 metres long. It's got 4 roads, and as we come in, you can see just at the top of the picture is one of the tandem overhead gantry cranes. So they can lift the whole body shell of the vehicle. You can move it sideways across the road or along the full length of the factory. It's interesting to look at the original use of the facility. One of the early projects, one of the earliest projects, was the conversion of Class 155 DMUs to Class 153 DMUs. So 155 is a 2-car set, and they were separated out, and at the intermediate end they added a cab to make it Class 153, and that's the very same Class 153 that we've just seen now converted back into a cycle train in the other facility. So it's just interesting. I think that goes full circle. On the right of the screen, you can see the catenary arms for the 25 kV test facility that's here, and that's a very, very similar system to what we saw at our Bonington facility. Again, on the right of the image, you can just see the exhaust extraction system. There's a number of these extraction units spread throughout the factory. Now, as we look along the factory, you can see that it currently has fluorescent lighting as part of our energy management system. We're going to change those to LED lights. We'll go through now to the other side of the factory. So this side of the factory, this is 100 metres long. And again, like the other side, this has 4 roads. This is the former wheel shop when LabTech had the facility, and indeed when Hunslow Barsby had the facility. The pitted road on the right, this is shortly going to accept 8 Biohack snowplows that we're going to overhaul for Network Rail. And again, on the overhead, you'll see that we have a number of cranes, and the entire footprint of this area is craneage. We're not going to operate it as a wheel shop. We're going to turn it into a carriage shop. So if you want to buy a wheel lathe, then please be sure and let me know. And who's this? Probably burgled. I bet you didn't expect to see me here. Okay, so we'll move down. We can have a look at the 158 now. As I said, the 158 is a C4I. So a C4 is where we do works below the sole bar to the underframe. Typically, we'll lift the vehicle, refit the bogies with overhaul bogies, and handle the underframe equipment. We'll go and have a look at that. Okay, I'm going to show you now some of the C4 works, but I'll show you some of the enhancement works more than the main part of the C4 because they're just a bit more interesting. Before I do that, I'll just let you see very quickly, this is the vehicle maintenance instruction, the VMI, and that's the list of documents that specify the works that we have to do. And this is a kit list. And in these shelves here, we keep the route cards for our work. So the very first thing that we see is the bogie change. The bogies are removed, vehicles lifted, bogies removed, and overhauled, bogies fitted. That's very standard in the C4. What's not standard is these are the anti-roll bar drop links. They're renewed, and new pneumatic hoses associated with that. This is the auxiliary battery box. Main battery box is the other side, and these are overhauled. We do that in-house. The boxes are removed, and we take care of any corrosion or any maintenance works that are required on them and then refit. Looking at what Marty's doing here, this is the EP brake unit that Marty's changing. It's a new component or an overhauled component that's refitted along with a new average relay valve. And I can see here that we changed the water pump for the Bispacker heater, and this is a new Norgren valve that we fit. This is an interesting modification. This here is it's a new design of alternator hydrostatically driven that ScotRail have added to their modification package. Can't show you this just yet, but when it comes, this will be a replacement silencer for the unit. The silencer is a new design, and that's a design that's intended to reduce the sound output of the engine. Another interesting modification is this intermediate drawbar. This is a solid drawbar, as you can see. It replaces the BSI coupler at the intermediate end, which was a maintenance element of the train, which wasn't really necessary. So moving along, I can see we've got new Flexitors. These are the stainless steel Flexitors. We remove and overhaul the gangway. Again, that's something that we do in-house. We've done that for some time. We renew the gangway structure, any corrosion work, and renew the gangway bellows as well. This is the hydrostatic motors and the hydrostatic pump, which are changed as part of the C4 works. We overhaul the reservoirs. So then, like the 320, they're overhauled in-house. This is the blowdown valve for the reservoirs, so they're renewed. Moving along, we've got a tailpin. So we renew the tailpins as part of that work package. This is a DSD pedal. So that's the driver safety device, and that lives in the footwell of the driver's cab. That's the alternator we spoke about. We renew the carding shaft for the alternator. There's a number of carding shafts that are renewed as part of these works. Renew the hydrostatic hoses. Hydrostatic system is flushed. We've got a number of hydrostatic hoses here which are renewed. This is a Bowden cable for the emergency release for the driver's door when the pneumatic system is not operational. The main compressor air hose, a number of air hoses are renewed in the works. These are the main hydrostatic motors, they're changed. Yeah, we've got, this is the harness for the blowdown valves that I just spoke about, so they're renewed as well. And last thing in the box is the levelling valves for the secondary suspension. That's what sets the vehicle height, so they're renewed as well. So that really gives you a feel for what the C4 works are about. So that's the C4I, and there's, that's in addition to the main C4 works. So that's, and we'll also overhaul the crew valves in-house, another job. So that's it. That's the tour of the factory. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And I'm just going to break a little bit with convention at the moment. I'd like our guys to grab a coffee because we go offline, that's we all disappear. So I'm just going to invite the guys to have a coffee and then questions. So guys, if you want to join us with coffee in the film, guys, if you want to join us too. Righty, questions, please.
Gerry, I'll go a bit later, but that was fantastic. Thanks, loved it to bits. Really, really good. It's a great way of showing it. That's fantastic.